Hey everybody, Bonehead for the Bonehead podcast, and it's been confirmed over the weekend, not announced, but confirmed. Mantic Games have said that Kings of War 4th edition is coming. It is right around the corner. Alessio Cavatore has been brought back, and by all accounts, the game has got some serious juice. Okay, so if you are not familiar with Kings of War is a fantasy rank and flank game. Look at that. Basically, 2008, 2009, when Warhammer Fantasy Battle exploded into oblivion, everybody was left looking for a rank and flank game that you could play that didn't cost you your soul. Enter Mantic. Now, they produced Kings of War. Now, Kings of War is probably most famous for having integral bases. So their units, it's entirely optional by all accounts, but they look so cool. Basically, if you've got 10 spearmen, the 10 spearmen go on one base. If you've got 20 spearmen, 40 spearmen, you can build big bases with big dioramas. That's totally optional because you can just use movement trays like in Fantasy Battle and stuff like that. But there is something so cool about mounting the guys on the base, having a little diorama, some cool unit fillers, some cool terrain. There is just something so wicked about that version of a fantasy game where you're moving units of stuff. It's like War Master, but at 28mm scale. So Kings of War entered, and by all accounts, they have just steamed along, doing great stuff. Now, they are currently in edition 3. Now, edition 3 came out in 2019, and they had a big old update. They get a general's handbook style thing every year called the Clash of Kings, I think it's called. And they've basically just been ticking over on this edition for a while. And at the weekend, they had their Clash of Kings tournament. So maybe I've got the book wrong. Sorry, that's on me. The book may not be called Clash of Kings. It may have been called Clash of Kings. I don't know. Anyway, ignore that. Basically, they've been on version what people have called 3.5 now for a bunch of years. So a really long edition. Now, at the weekend, they had the Clash of Kings tournament, which is the biggest Mantic Kings of War event, I think, anywhere in the world. And Mantic Ronnie himself jumped on a stream hosted by Death by Dragons and gave away a couple of little nuggets. Okay, so basically Ronnie has said, and this was revealed at an evening event hosted by Mantic at Clash of Kings. Now, everybody there was NDA'd, but Ronnie came on the stream and dropped a couple of things himself. So it's not official yet, because it's coming, not this week from Mantic. This week apparently is Epic Warpath on their website, but next week they're going to have a Kings of War week where they are dropping blog articles letting everybody know what is coming. But what we know so far is that Alessio Cavatore, who wrote the first edition of the game, has been brought back. Now, I believe Alessio works with Mantic frequently anyway, because Alessio is, you know, the daddy of rank and flank wargaming after Brick Priestley, right? So he's been brought back to focus on streamlining the rules, to fix stuff, to make it more elegant. Ronnie actually described it in one part as saying, you know, if there's you've got the core rules, and then you've got this has been added, this has been added, and Alessio's come in and sort of said, okay, well, what if you take these two things, make them one thing, and just bake it into the core rules? It becomes much more elegant. People don't have to go, right, I've got this rule over here, this rule over here, this rule over here. It's just part of the actual game itself. I think they mentioned some stuff like line of sight, and redundant rules were trimmed, which I really like the idea of. Now, the only thing they've said on timelines is that it will be coming in the next year, but given that they're about, like, Mantic are expecting a big Kings of War autumn drop somewhere around October, November time, it's probable that there's either going to be a big army release that drops now, ready for the 2026 Kings of War 4th edition next year, or they're just going to drop the whole thing, 4th edition and a brand new army at the end of this year, which has got me super excited about it. So they've brought Alessio back to streamline the game, to make it more playable. But the other thing that I absolutely really love is if you are a Mantic Mantic Companion subscriber, you got the army list builder for Kings of War, and it is all the armies of Kings of War, whether they are from the core books or the expanded books or whatever like that. So if we want to make a Twilight Kin list, we can create a list and we can choose our units and upgrades and things. It's a very cool system. I've been using it for Epic Warpath. But what this means is that Mantic have got all the rosters that people have made, all the rosters for tournaments that they've used, and quite frankly all the rosters that people have been brewing up, which means that if there's some units that people don't use very often, or if there are units that people use all the time, they've got the data there. I think they said something along the lines of 100,000 rosters have been kind of processed. They can find those units that don't get used very frequently and they can chuck them in. They can make them more spicy. They can make them more interesting or bake them in where necessary. So what it means is that Alessio's coming back to streamline the rules, and they've got the data here to make the rosters, to make the army lists even more interesting, which I think is going to make the whole game, the whole kind of meta of Kings of War, but really just the entire playing experience so much better. Now, I'm a new player to Kings of War. So the prospect of coming in at the beginning of an edition is super exciting for me, and the prospect of coming in to a new edition and having the armies be refreshed to the point where there's not so much of a this unit is terrible, never take it, just like everything is mostly viable. Well, that just takes away the barrier of playing. I can just get some stuff, paint it, do it cool, and put it on the table and get ready to go. The other cool thing that I do very much like is they talked about STLs, and apparently if you're a 3D printer for Mantic, you've got some really fun stuff coming. Now obviously on this channel I am super jazzed for that because I do love me some resin. So the Vault is Mantic's kind of subscription service for STLs. Every single month you've got a pack of stuff. Now the thing I've been printing out recently are the bases here for the champions, because you can see behind me I've got the champion starter box set, and they've printed out and they've provided some STLs for the bases for that, because obviously Mantic comes with big MDF bases that you glue all your dudes to. Actually, they've in the Vault there's some cool, in fact look at this 1 month you've got some Brocker bite dudes, you've got some terrain bits, you've got some random guys, some random extras, and a whole unit of elementals and a whole bunch of bases. I actually am a really big fan of the Mantic Vault. Some months are good, some months are not that interesting, but the fact that they're looking at STLs and how to bake them into their core bit of business, super love that. We went all in for Epic Warpath and backed the whole lot of STLs, and it's so cool to be able to have the plastic army boxes and then to print a whole bunch of support units and stuff like that. I absolutely love it. So they get 25 points for that one as well. So a couple of other bits that Ronnie mentioned. Yeah, so the playtesters have come out happy, and apparently everybody in the room, they made them sign the NDA on Saturday night, and they talked them through a lot of the changes to rosters, to rules, and apparently everyone was very happy with it. One nugget that was in there was they made a joke about the Ratman Slaves roster being gone. Let me try that again with proper English. Being removed. So the Ratkin Slaves, which is an amalgamation, it's like a 50-50 army list of Chaos Dwarves and Skaven, Ratmen. All right, so I'm intrigued by this. I mean, I have been intrigued by this army. But what it sounds like they're doing is half and half armies like that are going to be separated, and they're going to be introducing some allies rules instead. So you've got the option there of taking this army and adding a bit of this army to it and having it function really well. Now that can be quite challenging in a competitive game environment because it tends to lead to unit spam. So even OPR has been kind of cautious about the allied rules for competitive play, but I love the idea of any wargame system being able to build a little bit. So take Warhammer the Old World, right? I want a dwarf army, I kind of want a high elf army, so what I could do is build a bit of one, build a bit of the other, use it together. Not something you can really do in the old world, but if Kings of War helps facilitate that, that could be brilliant, because they've got champions on the go at the moment, which is a small version of Kings of War. It's a small, you've got 4 units and you kind of play it out as fixed rosters. Apparently that is going to be a really big stepping stone into the new Kings of War, which is fantastic because you pick up a champions for £32 or something like that from Wayland Games. You've got the bulk of like maybe a third of an army started. You can play test the styles, you can play test paints and stuff. So I'm really excited to be able to take the champions and upgrade them to full Kings of War armies in the 4th edition. So what do you guys want to see in 4th? Are you that fussed about Kings of War? I'm actually really excited for it because I've seen it played at Beachhead. They've always got a big Kings of War event, so it's really cool to see the beautiful modeling and the pretty chill gameplay play out. Like, it's just people having a really great time hobbying and having a really great time gaming. and I could not be more here for it. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll be back soon with more gaming content. Happy gaming.